This year's NFL MVP conversation and discussion is definitely a polarizing and an intriguing topic. You have three potential candidates who could win the award, four if you wanted to include Joe Burrow, but realistically the team's success and lack thereof is going to put him out of the conversation. But those three and Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Saquon Barkley equally have great chances to win this year's award. Starting off with Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills, they were expected to have a down year this year. Trading Stephon Diggs, a lot of people having their question marks about Josh Allen and ball security, things of that nature. If he can elevate his teammates like Patrick Mahomes has, well, he has this season, not only in terms of his statistics, but also how he is taking care of the ball, having minimal turnovers. So Josh Allen, he has a great case, leading the Buffalo Bills to the 2 seed in the NFL playoffs this year. I think that there's a conversation for him to for sure win the award this year, but also segueing into Lamar Jackson, the 2-time MVP, who just won the award in the 2023 season. In my opinion, not with the best stats, but this year, easily in his 7-year career so far, having his best statistical season, how he has taken care of the ball, how he has elevated his teammates. And of course, you have the conversation, oh yeah, he has Derrick Henry now. Well, there's times where they stray away from the running game, and in the passing game, Lamar Jackson has easily had his best year as a passer as well too. And we'll get more into that as we talk about him individually, but Lamar leading the Baltimore Ravens to the 3 seed in the AFC playoffs, particularly after they trailed the Steelers for a majority of the season in the division. He's put them in prime position to win the division and be a high playoff seed and host a playoff game too. So he has a great case already to get his 3rd MVP in his 7th season. That's insane. And making his case as the best dual threat quarterback of all time, especially after passing Mike Vick in most rushing yards by a quarterback too. I'm telling you, he has a great case there, but also we have to mention Saquon Barkley. I know this is a quarterback heavy award, but still what he has done and his impact that has changed, in my opinion, the Philadelphia Eagles offense has been monumental, and he deserves at least a conversation and some votes for sure to be the NFL MVP. Having a 2,000-yard rushing season, that's a testament to the Eagles offensive line, but how great of a running back that Saquon Barkley is in himself, because we know how great he was in New York, but now in his first season in Philadelphia putting up stats like these, I know that he's not going to break the Eric Dickerson record, but who's to say that he can't next season as long as he stays healthy? This is just year 1 for him in that offense, so I'm telling you, Saquon Barkley has a great shot. He'll most likely win Offensive Player of the Year, but not MVP, because like I said, it is a quarterback heavy award. But with that being said though, we'll get into individually why each of these players are deserving of this award, but we will also talk about who I think will and should win the NFL MVP. So before we get into who should win the NFL MVP, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe and turn on post notifications. You know we post about here videos about the NBA, NFL, Marvel, DC pop culture, all things of that nature. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at SwaggyRuss. And with that being said, let's talk about the NFL MVP. So just for context, guys, this video is being dropped before NFL Week 18, right before the regular season ends. So likely this won't be the final stats in terms of what these players have, except for Saquon Barkley, who's not playing in Week 18. But for the most part, it'll be an accurate depiction of these players' stats. But talking about the reigning MVP first and Lamar Jackson, I think we have to. What he has done this season has been insane in Baltimore. Almost accounting for 5,000 total yards, and like I talked about in the intro, as a passer, he's thrown for 39 passing touchdowns, but that's not even the most impressive thing in my opinion. Also has 4 rushing, but before we get into the rushing aspect, he's only thrown 4 interceptions, and you can make a case that some of those picks weren't his fault as well. Particularly one that comes to mind, the one in the first matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where he got it to the receiver and it was taken away for an interception. So what Lamar has really done this season, it shows that he has developed even more as a passer, where a lot of people have had their question marks in the past, and rightfully so, in terms of that area. If he's able to get it to his weapons, make the right reads, get through his progressions and things of that nature, well, he's proven that, and you know what he can do as a rusher. He hasn't had the most rushing touchdowns this year, only 4 at the recording of this video, but has had 852 rushing yards, almost 1,000 rushing yards in this season as well. So I think it goes without saying that statistics wise, before we hop into the other players and Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley, of course Saquon, he's had 2,000 rushing yards, he is a different position, so it's hard to directly compare to the quarterbacks, but Lamar, especially with this being his best year stats wise, I think he has a great case in terms of that alone. And we know how they lost in the playoffs against the Chiefs last year, and that's really the next step for Lamar Jackson. He can get 1,000 MVPs, but it's going to come down to what he does in the playoffs. But in this conversation, the playoffs don't matter, because the team likely going to have a 12-5 record, being the 3 seed in the AFC playoffs. I think that right there, in terms of the winning aspect, that takes the cake. Obviously Josh Allen is going to have the best case in terms of quarterbacks between Lamar and Josh in terms of winning, but in terms of stats, I think it is Lamar. I mentioned the 39 touchdowns and 4 interception to touchdown ratio, but also at the recording of this video, he's thrown for over 3,950 passing yards and likely will be 4,000 passing yards by the end of Week 18 after the matchup against the Browns. But we know what Lamar is and what he's done as a dual threat quarterback, what he did in Louisville, what he's done in the NFL so far, especially being the last pick of the first round in the 2018 draft. I think it goes without saying this season he has propelled his team even more. I know that they were the 1 seed in the 2023 season. He's played even better than last year. And I think that it's arguable that he should have even won the award in 2023. I know, like I said, the Ravens were the 1 seed that season, so he definitely elevated them in ways, and that defense was great too. But I think he only had like 24 passing touchdowns, which I'm not saying isn't good, but in terms of MVP worthy, there are players who had a better case, even like a Dak Prescott or Josh Allen in the 2023 season. But this season, it's hard for me to say that any other quarterback has better stats than Lamar. Obviously, Joe Burrow, he's had a phenomenal year, and like I said, he's the definition of the most valuable player award to his team, because without Joe Burrow on the Bengals, they might be 0-17. I know they have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but they can't throw themselves the ball. But what Joe Burrow has done in Cincinnati, that's unparalleled, and that's the definition of MVP. But the team success isn't going to let them get there. But you could say similar things about Lamar in Baltimore, because the offense is literally tailor-made to his play style. So I think that's Lamar's case for sure. His stats being the best of his career so far, in his 7th season, potentially already winning his 3rd MVP award. What's next for him is winning a Super Bowl, and we will see in the playoffs. But I think he has a great case to win his 3rd MVP already. Now on to Josh Allen, who, like I said, he has an amazing case himself and has been close to winning MVP in years prior. This year, he has 40 total touchdowns, 12 rushing, 28 passing, and unlike past season where he's had double-digit number interception years, he's only had 6 this year. He's been taking care of the ball at a high level, and like I talked about in the intro, man, Buffalo, they have dominated the AFC East again for another year. 5 years in a row, they have dominated the division, and like I said, they were expected to not be as great this year. Josh has elevated his team, and that's a definition of being the most valuable player, because the same conversation with Lamar and with Joe, in terms of you take this player off the team, they'll be trash. You can say the same thing for the Buffalo Bills, especially now without them having a player like Stephon Diggs as a skill player, and players like that, even though they do have good weapons, I would say, but they don't necessarily have a number 1 receiver. But if you take Josh Allen off of the Bills, let's be real. Come on now. They're not relevant at all. But he has made them very relevant in terms of his dual threat ability as well. I know Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, I think a lot of people would agree that he's the best dual threat quarterback of all time. But Josh Allen, he's a great dual threat runner as well too. And he's had 531 rushing yards, not nearly as much as Lamar, but you know how much of a threat he is running wise too. And he's not afraid to get hit as well too. So that's what you love as a quarterback.
Passing wise low.
He has a little less than Lamar Jackson, having 3,700, and I believe that he's not really going to play much in week 18 as well too. So it's likely similar to where it's going to be at. The impact that Josh Allen has had has been great, especially his development. I think that's one thing that doesn't get noticed a lot. A lot of people were very skeptical on him coming into the draft in 2018 and being drafted so high in terms of his development, how raw he was as a prospect, but how he has continued to get better and better by year. From going to a player like Jalen Ramsey, who's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and that we've seen calling him trash early in his career, to now Josh Allen being one of the best quarterbacks that we've seen dual threat wise and in general. The talent that he has had, especially arm talent too, it's great to see how he has transformed himself in his career as well too. And like I said, I don't want to get too much into the playoffs because this is a regular season award, but we've seen him go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes multiple times in the playoffs, nearly winning in 2023. Of course, we know the infamous game where the Chiefs were able to come back the game at the end and win in overtime in the playoffs. Played against him 3 times and beat him multiple times in the regular season, but doesn't necessarily apply to the MVP award. And you are seeing also as well the voters and fans and people recognize Lamar and Josh definitely deserve this award and are in the conversation, and even same with Joe Burrow, who I mentioned as an honorable mention, because the 3 AFC quarterbacks for the Pro Bowl are Josh Allen, Lamar, and Joe Burrow. But yeah, man, Josh Allen, I think the biggest conversation for him to win the award is the impact and the expectation of the Bills and the team overall, because we know how great of a player he is. He could have won last year, 2022, arguably. I mean, different years like that, but this year particularly is probably his best case so far in his young career in his 7th season, because of the expectation of the Bills to drop off kept them dominating great teams as well too, and putting them in prime position to go on a real run in the playoffs. Last but not least, we're of course going to talk about Saquon Barkley. I know usually this is the quarterback heavy award, but we have to mention him in terms of the season that he has had. Coming close to that rushing record, having 2,005 rushing yards for 13 rushing touchdowns on 345 carries, basically averaging 6 yards a carry. That's phenomenal, man. And the impact that he has had for this Eagles team and offense is similar to what Christian McCaffrey did for the 49ers offense in the 2023 season, which led him to winning Offensive Player of the Year. And I think that's probably most likely the award that he's going to win, and rightfully so. Really should be unanimously. But MVP conversation, he deserves a seat at the table too, because he has really taken this team to new heights, making even the passing game more dynamic because of his threat as a runner. The type of long rushing touchdowns that he has had against teams like the Commanders, the Rams, the Saints. You've seen them all this season, the type of highlights he's had, and we're going to be talking about that reverse hurdle that he had against the Jaguars for generations, because oh my goodness, that was a filthy move. But it really in a nutshell just describes the type of year that he has had. And he was great in New York, but what he has done in Philly has been insane. And I know that he doesn't get talked about as a receiver in the backfield as well too, but he is versatile, as he has had 2 receiving touchdowns as well, and nearly 3,000 receiving yards too, so close to having almost 2,400 yards total on the season and 15 touchdowns. That warrants a conversation to be the NFL MVP, but it really takes a lot as a running back to win the award. award. Not only do you have to have the stats, the winning record, all things like that, but you also have to outweigh these quarterbacks too, Josh Allen and Lamar, and I think it's going to be hard for him to do that because of the seasons that they have had. And we've seen Adrian Peterson win the award in 2012. He was the last running back to do so, but it takes a lot. Even for a running back like LaDainian Tomlinson, he didn't have 2,000 rushing yards in his 2006 MVP season, but he had 28 rushing touchdowns, which is the record, and which is insane. But it takes a lot to win the award as a running back. But what Saquon has done for this team in Philadelphia and his season overall is really just the beginning, because this is his first year a part of the Eagles. He's still only 27. He'll be 28 in February. One can make the case, especially with how Derrick Henry is playing at 30 years old, he could have an even better season next year and potentially break the Eric Dickerson record. Then, if that happens, he's going to have a great case to win it for sure. Yeah, Saquon, he deserves talk and chatter for sure about the MVP conversation too as a running back. So who should win the 2024 NFL MVP? In my opinion, it should be Lamar Jackson. I know people are going to be mad. Josh Allen has the stats. This is his best case to win it, especially when a player like Patrick Mahomes hasn't had his best regular season. But Lamar, this is his best season period, especially as a passer. I know the 2019 season that he had, especially running wise, but this year as a passer, he has dominated the passing game. We know the explosive plays that he makes on his feet, but also passing wise, connecting with players like Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. He has been throwing the ball at a high level when a lot of people had their question marks in terms of how he would be a passer in the NFL. And even now in terms of in the playoffs and just in big games, if he can make those throws, well, he's made them a lot so far. And I know the playoffs are not a conversation in the NFL MVP. It's a regular season award. But he's shown if he plays anything like he has for this regular season in the playoffs, that the Ravens are going to win their first Super Bowl since the 2012-13 season. So I think it goes without saying that he should win the award. I know the Josh Allen case, in terms of especially taking him off the team, being the most valuable player to the Buffalo Bills, and the expectations that people in the league and quote-unquote experts had for the Bills having a down year, and him elevating them to the 2 seed in the AFC playoffs. He has a case, but like I said, Lamar, in my opinion, he should win the award. But I want y'all to talk about this conversation in the comments down below too. Who should win the award in your opinion, especially out of these three, because these will most likely be the 3 final candidates. So before closing out the video, I think it goes without saying though, each of these players, they would rather be holding up a Lombardi trophy than the MVP award, especially Lamar Jackson, who has won the MVP 2 times already and would be his 3rd this season. But it's crazy the type of seasons each individual player has had, and especially also Joe Burrow, who I have to mention too, even though it's been an up and down year for Cincinnati, what he has done as well. In my opinion, I think Lamar Jackson should win it, but Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley have great cases too, and it's going to be interesting to see who wins the award. We still, of course, have a month until we have the NFL awards, and we'll find out who wins the 2024 NFL MVP, but it's also interesting to see if any of these 3 players end up winning the Super Bowl too. Of course, Kansas City will have something to say about that because they are the favorites, but it would be interesting to see a new team win for sure, and I think a lot of NFL fans feel the same way too. But let me know who y'all think in the comments down below who should win the 2024-25 NFL MVP. So yeah, guys, with that being said, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe and turn on post notifications. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at SwaggerUs, and also on TikTok at SwaggerUs02 for cooking videos, shorts, reels, previews, all types of content, things of that nature. And stay tuned for more videos in the NFL season, especially in the playoffs. We're going to recap Week 18, then the wild card round, divisional round, both AFC and NFC championship games, and then finally the Super Bowl too. And even after that, that won't be the end of NFL conversation because we're going to have to talk about free agency, the draft, all things like that too. So stay tuned. And also, if you're a fan of the NBA, my favorite league, there's going to be a conversation in the stretch run of the season going into the playoffs and highlighting different players and teams too, so stay tuned for that as well. But I appreciate the support always. Y'all be blessed. I hope 2025 is an amazing year for y'all. Go grind, make this an amazing year, guys. Keep God first throughout it all because he's our source of strength and the reason why we have life in general. So always give him the praise. Know that you can do anything and just keep working, and you can accomplish all goals that you have for yourself in God's will. So keep going. Y'all be blessed and y'all have a good one.